Hey, what's up, everyone? Rob Rended here, looking at everything to do with human behavior and how to change yourself and optimize your life. This morning, I want to make this podcast number 6 about how to work on yourself and make it very practical. I'm going to be showing you how I did it this morning for myself. Um, there are no gurus. Everyone has a mind, so you're constantly trying to balance it. And I was looking at something this morning that was bothering me, and I'll explain how to do it. I'm going to be doing it live on the board, but if you're listening to the podcast, I'll be explaining it and you'll be able to imagine what I'm doing. So, a quick intro into this morning. I had a fascinating client this morning. It was a really good session, and I finished it. And I have the rest of the day to write my book. And I started to become a little bit, I was feeling a little bit anxious about it. And then I was anxious about a couple of other things in my life. So I have jiu-jitsu tomorrow, which I'm finding it difficult getting back into. My lungs and my fitness are nowhere near there. I haven't done it for 8 years, so I'm kind of finding it difficult to control my breathing and when I'm rolling, and so I'm finding that difficult. So that's a worry. And then there's some other concerns at the moment in my life. So I got my Kindle here, and it's just that page that was all that was needed for me to calm and understand, and in understanding resolve what was going on. And when I mean resolve, I mean understand, and then it's not, affects me no longer, and then I can do what I enjoy doing, what I want to do, not driven by my unconscious behaviors. So um, I first of all I started meditating. For me, meditation has just been very quiet, and then observing the self, observing my thoughts and feelings and sensations coming up. And what I do then is I map them. I write them out. I don't always, but this morning I did. So I was going to use the Kindle pen there. So if I'm going to start off by drawing a circle, which is my hamster wheel. The mind works like a hamster wheel in the more you try and gain something, or you in your mind you're trying to shape something, you're also energizing the opposite. So if you imagine a circle and with an arrow, which is where I'm drawing myself, I want to go up to the right, and then the hamster wheel, I want the hamster wheel to go that way. In fact, the moment I step on the hamster wheel, it spins the other direction. And that is exactly how the mind works. How do I know? Well, it wasn't written in a book, it's through self-observation. And that's the best way to learn anything, is by doing it yourself and working out yourself. When it comes to understanding yourself, there's only one person who can do that. Let me just open this 6052. There we go. Okay. So I wrote down writing. That was kind of bothering me. I was anxious, like, what if it feels like I'm not going to write? So I start to worry about not writing, and then what that means. So it's getting into a negative spiral. Then I actually started thinking about my weight, to do with the jiu-jitsu, because I've started doing circuit training, everything, and my weight's gone up. So I'm gaining muscle, but I have, for the last week or so, I've been eating a lot more carbs, which you can see in behavior when you start to want to gain something, say gain a loss of weight or gain fitness. So then if the unconscious isn't in tune with that, you'll increase the carbs, so it balances out. It's funny old thing. Anyway, I started getting a little bit concerned about my weight, which has gone up rather than down. And then the other thing was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That was on my mind, like an anxious worry about the discomfort. And then I sort of put discomfort, like an equal sign for those 3 words. It's like discomfort. And then I looked at it further and I realized it was disappointment. So I was looking at the discomfort, but I was realizing that in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the discomfort was coming from being disappointing. Like not being able to compete, not being able to, and the discomfort came because I was worried about being a disappointment. So I was over forcing. So if I follow the discomfort through as disappointment, my weight, disappointing. It disappoints me that I've gained. My body, I don't want it to look disappointing, etc. And then the writing, if I don't write, then that's disappointing to me because I said I would, right? So there's a lot of disappointment. And then I wrote underneath that, I kept watching myself and I thought, I kind of feel a bit disconnected at the moment in that I'm kind of a bit passive. I'm just going along for the ride. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's what I'm experiencing. So I'm not really actioning. I've been a little bit on social media, following something on Twitter, but it's not very valuable to me. It's a distraction. I'm distracting myself. And then I've drunk some alcohol in the last week. I started drinking some German beer for some reason. Well, probably to get out of my mind, right? Because of this disconnect. So it's a distraction again. And so I've been a bit passive. So I wrote down, I was aware of that. And it's not good or bad. I'm just observing what is going on inside this dialogue. Now, what I then do is I start to look at what hamster wheel is that. This is the way I do it. So what I'm trying to do is find the pattern of words that link all my thoughts together. And through going, I've been working with hamster wheels for quite a while. So I kind of, it took me a few minutes and then I saw it was a gain, just a real simple one, gain and loss. So if you imagine you have a hamster wheel in front of you, on the right is gain, it's masculine, it's positive. On the left is loss, feminine and negative energy. And so you need those two balanced to be neutral. But I know my gain and loss is jammed up. So I know that loss is the general theme of my thought pattern, and it makes me feel disappointment. Yeah, disappointment I'd already seen. So let me just go through that again. So I wrote down, well, I kind of feel like I've loss of focus, losing time, loss of fitness, loss of direction. And then with the book, like a loss of maybe drive, ambition, loss of time around writing, etc. So loss is very significant for me. It's what's making me feel sad. I'm going to put sad in also as disappointment, sad, because disappointment is a type of sadness. It's kind of like sadness is the underlying emotion. So sad and disappointed. Remember, I'm trying to understand my mind. I'm trying to understand what program's running. So in understanding it, I can then dissolve it. Yeah. So on the other side, there's this drive or hope, a movement. A drive is a great word in my thinking. So I'm sitting on the balcony meditating, and I see this constant going from loss, sadness, disappointment to gain. So I'm trying to gain my body. I'm actually trying to lose weight, but gaining weight. But that's that can, you can have that show up sometimes. But let's just stick with simple gain. So gain the body, gain fitness, gain the book. I'm just writing these things on the right-hand side of the wheel. These are what I want. I want to gain health. And I kind of, like, when looking at it, I realize I'm just trying to be proud of myself, gain pride. And underneath that is valuable, but that's for another time. So I can see by observing the program, software, conditioning that's going on inside of me, that it's like a triad. It's I kind of, let me just see. Yeah, there's another emotion I just wanted to bring up. I'm going to draw it on the board, but if you imagine in above the hamster wheel, just on top of it, I'm going to write worry. So what I do is, if you imagine a stick drawing of me inside the hamster wheel, I want to go up to the right. I'm putting all of my energy into gain. I want to gain that body. I want to gain the fitness. I want to gain the book. I want to be proud of myself. I want to gain and win and be successful. So when I see my thinking go there, and there's hope, well, there's a little bit of pleasure, excitement. Oh yeah, I'm gonna. If I can, maybe if I take more of this, I'll gain that. What if I do? Yeah, I'm gonna go running. Okay, then I'm gonna gain my body. So the action's there. The action is the energy inside that hamster wheel, the arrow going up. So I get hope, but then in my mind, I start to spin over to the other side, or I kind of start going backwards, and that worry starts to come up. Like, worry, what if I don't? What if I do? Da, 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 da? And then I spin into the opposite, loss, and I'm sad because I start. So I'm just explaining in my mind what it is happens is three. It's kind of a triad or three-pronged pattern, and I'm sure a lot of you will kind of know where I'm coming from. It. So you go, I'm hope, then I'm kind of worried I'm not, and then I'm lost, and then I go hope, and so that's what I saw this morning. Now, the moment I saw it, everything started to calm down because I know that the emotions that I'm feeling, that worry, sadness, disappointment, and the hope is not is a program that's inside of me that was created by little Rob before he was 5 years old as a defense mechanism to for the environment I was brought up in, that everyone is brought up in. I haven't met anyone who didn't create these programs to try and be, like to gain more success, more validation, be valuable to others, be successful, be loved. I've talked about it like Sylvester Stallone. He did all of his movies to be loved by his audience because he didn't get the love as a child. And every single person that you want to look at, politician, athlete, etc., they all have this. And mothers, fathers. Just this is the mind. This is human nature, human conditioning. So, I drew that out. I didn't say this before, but this is where you can feel the energy of the word. So everything is either strong or weak. So you can use that strong or weak as your own internal GPS. I teach that on my School of Meditation OS, which for me is the best, most advanced sort of energy training course there is, but I'm sort of biased. But it's amazing for getting results. So what I do is I use that GPS to realize, I know this before, that gain, the right-hand side is weaker for me. And the right, where you'd think I'd be weak, is actually safe. So I'm much more comfortable with loss than gain. And that's kind of almost counterintuitive, but that's the same for everyone. Now, not the same for everyone, just let me clarify that. So I'm strong to loss, weak to gain. So I'm spending all my time trying to gain, but then I spin over to where I'm more comfortable in my deep conditioning. In understanding that, it dissolves, and then I can just be balanced, and I can gain or lose. There's no sort of hamster wheel, glitchy software. Yeah. On the other side, you get people who are weak to loss and strong to gain. Those are the people, and for me, humans break down into either or you're completely balanced. But I haven't met anyone like that. If you're weak to loss, that means you cannot stand loss, helplessness, unable, not doing. So that type of person is always doing, gaining, succeeding, working on being valuable, is obsessed with being valuable work, and doing and being very able. So you'll find that in couples, the opposites always attract, to teach each other and to balance each other out. So the client I had this morning, she was weak to gain and strong to loss, and I inevitably I said, your husband's going to be the opposite. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. As it is with every single client I've ever tested on this. So you're either on one side or the other. Now, if you're strong to gain, you're going to be listening to this going, I know what you're talking about. However, you're going to be imbalanced just the same, but on the other way. So you're going to have trouble not doing. You're going to still experience a lot of sadness and disappointment, but you're addicted to that gain. And that gain won't get you love, belonging, and connection, which is the reason why we have all of these behaviors. So don't think just because you're gaining and being successful that you will feel fulfilled. And oftentimes those type of people attract kind of big problems like physical problems, illnesses and stuff, to balance them out with the loss, a loss of the body or disappointment, and they experience, or addictions and stuff. So both sides is just, I'm explaining you mine, which is I'm strong to the left, weaker to the right, although it's much better than it used to be because I watch this all the time. So this behavior this morning came up for some reason, got triggered. And then it took me about 10, 15 minutes of meditation to observe it and then dissolve it. And then I have I'm compelled to do this podcast. So I'm gaining content. And it's not because I'm trying to do anything. It's just the Rob behind the programming comes through, and I just do things naturally. Yep. So, writing things down is great. Talking to people about it, not so. You need to observe your own behavior. So it's kind of lonely, but in that aloneness, there's real freedom. Telling other people things, you can get caught up with people going, oh, poor you, oh, it's okay. Or they're the other way around, like, oh, just get a hold of yourself. You know, you got to be stronger. Any type of that information is irrelevant to, it just reinforces the hamster wheel. So you watch, you write down, you get to understand that this behavior has a certain pattern to it. You'll find that there are many, well, not that many hamster wheels when it comes down to it. And then when you get really good, you start to blend them all together and just see one big hamster wheel of your mind. And when you see that, it's very quick to dissolve it, and then you're balanced, centered, and stable. Okay, I think that's everything. And I'm glad I think it's valuable. I'm glad I shared it. If you're going through a dip, you're feeling anxious, worried, sad, disappointed, whatever, it means that one of your programs, your hamster wheels, is running. It's not you, it's little you that is like an echo from the trauma from when you were a child. When I use the word trauma, I mean it's trauma. You get a lot of podcasters saying the things like, "Oh, trauma's the fashionable thing to say at the moment. I think people need to just toughen up." This is tough. Is looking and understanding the truth. This is difficult. This takes proof of work. You don't trust. You verify by observing yourself, and this takes balls. The people on the right will say trauma is bullshit. But they're too scared to look at their own trauma. So that's why a lot of guys on podcasts, when they start, someone says the word trauma, if you watch very closely their behavior and their body language, they suddenly deflect. As someone, a few do it, but one in particular, one of the best known one, suddenly just deflects the conversation because the people on the right, they do not like going over here. And they talk to me here when they're in real trouble, because the right side don't like to be vulnerable. And the most clients I get are over on the left because it's shitty, sadness all the time. It's uncomfortable and painful. And I have to show them how to open the window to the right. The people on the right, they need to be shown opening to the left so they're balanced, they're more creative, they can not do, they can recover, they can be intimate. So many beautiful things for the right to get from the left, and so many beautiful things for the left to open up to and to the right. All right. Hope that was interesting. Any comments? I'd love to know. I do read the comments, and then I actually create content based on the comments. So if you have a question, I'll answer it in a video. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great week. And please subscribe and like the video. And if you can, if you want to get in contact with me directly, you can go to school.com/masterless meditation, and have free courses there and stuff. Okay, have a great rest of the day. Cheers.